was somewhat surprised by the results. Uh, I think that one of the things that was anticipated is that we knew that she was going to have problems in Pennsylvania, and that was from being on the ground in Pennsylvania and seeing the lack of excitement that was outside of Pittsburgh and some of the surrounding counties outside of Philadelphia, other than Philadelphia, that is. Similarly, we knew there were going to be problems in Michigan with the Arab American vote and all that was going on with regards to Gaza. We knew there were going to be issues with a lot of the middle class and the lower middle class. Some of that was based on the economy and then we layer on top of that the misogyny as well as the just outright racism that we know that existed in a lot of these areas, including Wisconsin. Because let's not lose track of the history, right? We know that in Wisconsin, that Mandela Barnes was running for the U.S. Senate there, was doing extremely well, high voter turnout, won Milwaukee and the heavy urban areas there in Wisconsin, but lost because of the racism in the rural areas of Wisconsin. So I think that when we start breaking all of that down, I can't say it's a complete surprise or shock that Vice President Harris lost. But I think it is a measure of where the country is on the racial grounds, where the country is on electing a woman, and where the country is economically. Because as you've indicated and listed up correctly, that people are hurting, and if the conversation is simply about housing market and creating more housing market, that's not the answer that was resonating. And let's not lose track. And I've heard analysis talking about how Vice President Harris didn't necessarily connect with the working class people, and extremism was the reason behind it. Well, we did have extremism from Donald Trump as well. And so it's
Anita,
the extremism part
Muhammad,
of it. I think
Chris,
disconnecting as much as
and
I
Sylvia wanted to ask a question
economic side of it and all
about why did
the
Iran put together plots to kill Donald Trump and would have done something.
Well, I will tell you this. I just cannot help but think about what Shirley Chisholm, no less, that something that I heard her not just say was that, it was in private conversation. And she was talking about her presidential run. And she said, I thought that racism was going to be the biggest hurdle that I faced, but it was the sexism. That was the thing. Nick Kristof of the New York Times in the 2008 campaign, when we saw Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama face off, he said, well, we do know that while racism is wide in America, sexism is deeper. Remember, black men got the vote before white women did. So, I think we have to, that is real, but there's also a way to conduct a campaign. And we have had people who've been calling in, people who've messaged into my show and to this one, as you well know, Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway and Attorney Daryl Jones. They've said we need more people on the ground. We're not seeing that. So there's that. And I don't think we should ignore that. But, let me go to a couple of callers because they certainly do have something to say. Let me go to you, Chris. Chris, what's on your mind today?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So tell me, were you surprised by the result?
Somewhat, yes. But, I thought both sides had a, 50-50 in the game. I was surprised because of the past, first of all, Ms. Harris was way qualified to be in the race. I think they did an awesome job in the short span, 108 days or whatever that was, and to raise that much money. But the racism of being a black woman, the misogyny, and being a woman, and I asked the question to myself: is America ready, for a black woman? And I think
we got our answer. The other candidate was so flawed as a candidate, with the adjudicated, rape charge, the felonies, being compromised financially. I said, hey, this person could be bought by a foreign country, blackmailed or whatever.
Well, wait, I just want to be clear. It wasn't rape, it was sexual assault. I split hairs, and I'm very, very, very particular because if someone were saying something about you, I would want to be very specific. You know what I mean? And accurate. Um, but which doesn't diminish the seriousness of the charges, of course. But I'm just saying rape is a criminal offense. Sexual assault is a civil offense, and he was charged civilly. Please continue.
Also, with the Supreme Court, I have no faith in the Supreme Court to do the right thing. I believe they put their thumb on the scale when they allowed him on the ballots. When I forgot the number of states that stated they felt the Supreme Court or those states felt he had reached the definition of insurrection, so they left him off the ballot. And then the Supreme Court of the United States looked at it and said, well, we got to allow him on the ballot. So it was a very unique race. But for her to even be in the race this close, with 100 and some days in it, and then, like I said, the pass is a prologue. The last time we gave Trump the keys, he lost manufacturing jobs. He lost the most jobs for a first-term president. The handling of COVID, killing of the black small businesses, and just the adding to the GDP, the way the Republicans spent, and the 1% tax break to the richest people, and also lowering the corporate tax. So, and most economists say that the tariffs he wants to enact will lose jobs immediately and add us into a recession. So, also with the mass deportation. So, people, they have to, own up what they voted for. And I guess they got what they wanted, and we'll see how it pan out. But Team Harris all the way.
Absolutely. But we have to see. I think we have to. I don't call it a post-mortem. Just what are the lessons learned? What can we do better the next time? Because it's not just a black woman; it's women. If Hillary, who won the popular vote, she lost the electoral vote. And I don't think that the Democrats adequately examined that. She missed the flyover states. You can't just win New York and California, right? Chris, you got to go to North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma. I mean, places where people are not inclined to be with you, to support your candidacy. But you got to go into those tough spots. I remember Reverend Jackson, and I think Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway will understand this, as will you, Chris, as will you, Attorney Darrell Jones. After Reverend's first campaign, which Willie Nelson ardently supported, and Chris Christopherson, quite frankly, he said, you know what, Jesse, I want you to come with me. Reverend, I want you to come with me to Farm Aid. Now, Farm Aid, would not be, Chris, a friendly crowd to Reverend. And my father said, okay, well, all right, he's not, he will swallow any trepidation and keep it going. He's a man of tremendous courage. And predictably, when he walked out on the stage to compress the story, people were booing. By the time he was finished, they were cheering, "Run, Jesse, run." A couple of years later, many of these farmers had formed an informal security detail for Reverend around the country. You gotta go. You know what I mean, Chris? You gotta go.
Yes,
And that didn't happen. It didn't happen in 2016, and it did not happen here. We were looking at the swing states, which he did lose. And so we want to know about what we can do. And hey, will she go and become governor of California? I mean, wow. Sylvia, what's on your mind today?
Wait. Hello? Yeah, all right, I'll call you back.
Oh yeah, 8 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Groups like Spanish, white, or black voted for a particular person, how do they find out what those groups of people voted for? How do they find it out? And I thank you so much for keeping us informed.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, with Iran, we still don't know. Uh, we still really we don't definitively know if Iran actually. Well, they didn't attempt to kill him. Apparently, there was a plot to do that. We are in a conflict over there, and quite frankly, you don't know who wants whom. But we do know that Americans are not regarded very highly, and we're seen as an instigator of sorts, someone who is supporting uh, the tragedy in Gaza and the West Bank. So only heaven knows where that is coming from, and we will have to wait for further reporting uh, to find out really what is going on with that. That having been said, you can find out. You can poll and find out who voted which way. It's very interesting. We tend not to, we stopped trusting the exit polls, State Representative Hardaway. we stopped trusting them when they didn't match the machines. Yeah, I said it. But now we trust, how people voted. But people will tell you once they voted, the burden is off of them. And we do know, I will say this, we got about 30 seconds. State Representative Hardaway, the only people who cannot move into whiteness are black people. Okay. So, let's just keep it 100 with that. And so, even a lot of our Latino brothers and sisters, they have the option on the census of being white. And they too are white adjacent, and many of them are a generation away from becoming that. But they are concerned, they don't like being tagged with being here illegally. There's just a lot that goes into that. About 30 seconds for you, not even. But, I want you to speak to that when we get back. Because, the interesting thing about the South is that the color line is very, very, very bold and real. And so I want to talk with you about that. I want to continue to hear from you, 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. And please stay in touch with us at Rainbow Push, rainbowpush.org throughout the week. And join me on my show, on the Santita Jackson Show on AM 950 Radio out of the progressive voice of Minnesota. But you can join me on my YouTube channel like you can right now, Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes. Your opinion counts.
So what?
This was about to collapse. It wasn't closed. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So you have Ms. Patrice on, Representative Hardaway.
We have Rania.
Ronnie,
Okay.
Ken Buckner.
Yep, I'm here.
We have Rania and.
Representative Hardaway, Attorney Jones, and Ken Buckner.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Let me say hello
State
to
Representative
all of.
Cam Buckner. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner.
Yeah, you can see good morning.
Hello, mighty, mighty man of Omega Psi Phi. Didn't know that you were a Q.
Absolutely. I'll pay you the same shot as you did.
Oh, really? Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, must say, when I got to college, you all embarrassed me. When I saw you stepping on the yard, I was so embarrassed I ran into the student center and called my father collect when you did that in those days.
Running in California.
I said,
What's
wait a
that?
minute. Are you serious right now? I went out and got this
Running.
purple and gold
Running.
polo for this?
Yes.
You are awful.
So you want to make a comment about the election?
My mother said, well, what did they do? I
Yes.
said, I can't tell you what they did.
I can't tell you, Mama.
It was so horrible. I was like, oh, let me get out of here. I was like, I can't believe my father Did he do this? But he didn't have a brand. Did you get a brand?
I did.
Oh, bless your heart. Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. So let me say hello to everybody. Hey, Zenobia. Hey, Mildred. Hello, Andre. Sending you all so much love today. And Barbara Jean, George Bliss. Here we go. Here we are. Thank you, George.
We have 3 callers on: Anita,
Okay.
Muhammad, and Vernon from California.
Vernon from California. Okay. I'll grab them real quick and then we'll get right back to our panel.
Coming up in 10 seconds.
Okay.
That's 1-866-594-4673.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. What about the election? What about the election? Were you surprised by the results? Please call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. We want to hear from you. Let me, as we bring on Rania Patrice, a Democratic operative, can't wait to see what you saw in the field, and of course, Palestinian American activist, and Illinois State Representative, mighty Omega Man, Cam Buckner, with us today. We want to hear what you all saw and what you're thinking about what it is that we didn't just witness it this week. I think we all experienced it. So let me hear from you, Vernon, out there in California. You're getting up so early with us. What's going on, Vernon?
Well, good morning, Betsy, and good morning to the panel.
Good morning.
First and foremost,
I just want to say the question that was asked by former President Trump, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, in my opinion, said no. They had to look back and say, no, we're not doing better. And then I think the second thing that hurt Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign is they kept focusing on who Donald Trump is. We've gotten to know him for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
We all know who he is. I think they should have focused more on what they were going to do for the people and how they were going to help the people. So I think looking back really hurt them. That's just my opinion.
No. It matters a lot because I think that, as Democrats are trying to figure things out, I mean, you're the voter. You're the consumer, if you will. That's what Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway said. Wait a minute. We have a product, if you will, that we are selling to you. And if you're not buying it, we need to know why. So please don't make any excuses for your thoughts because, a lot of people thought as you did. And I'm not even asking you how you voted. I mean, it's just stepping back, trying to figure out what happened. I mean, and so that dovetails to you, Rania Patrice, because you were out on the hustings campaigning. Were you surprised by the result? And, what do you think happened? Because I said at the beginning of the show, I was looking at an 8-minute clip of an interview with a former California speaker, former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who, of course, is one of the titans of American politics. There's no finer political mind than his. And he said, you can't, campaign aspirationally. And we have ceded, the Democrats have ceded ground to Donald Trump. In other words, he is now owning the working class. And, Michael Wolff, who's written quite extensively on Donald Trump, had a very interesting anecdote about Donald Trump. He was flying some of his friends, Jeremy, on his plane, that famous huge aircraft, that luxury aircraft. And he had some of his friends on there. And he said, why don't we stop in Atlantic City and let's just hang out and have some fun? Because it's his plane, he could do that. And one of his friends, wealthy, remarked, that's just a place for poor white trash. Now, just want you to know that is how the story was related. I don't believe that anyone is trash. And I find that that term as offensive as the N-word, if you will. But the man did say it, and Donald Trump turned to him and said, I'm poor white trash with money. Let's go. Rania Patrice, what did you expect? What happened? And what happened?
Good, great big questions. And my hope is that, just like you've said a couple times now, I really do hope there's some serious introspection among all of us as Democrats, because as you rightly pointed out, it definitely did not happen in 2016. Finger pointing happened everywhere but internally. And, you know, I think there was part of me that thought 34-time convicted felon, just such an atrocious person, fascist, etc. Maybe if we're still going to pull it off, but the reality is so many of us were ignored. This was a tight timeline. We all understand that. We also all understand that the racism and misogyny in this country is real. That's not new. None of that's new. And my, I think, biggest frustration is something you and I have talked about before. When we're talking about the economy, and when Democrats say the economy is strong, they're talking about the stock market. When the average person is talking about a strong economy, they're talking about, can they buy groceries? Can they fill their car up with gas? Can they pay their rent and their bills?
Yes.
That is the average everyday person's reality. And to hear a bunch of politicians running around saying, oh, look how great our economy is while you're struggling to make ends meet is offensive, quite frankly.
And where you coming from?
And then the other reality too is this, you know, I am Palestinian American, and you've also heard me say over and over, this was not an issue. The issue of U.S. funded genocide was not just an issue among my community or among the Muslim community. There were a lot of people who cared about how our tax dollars are being used. And that was brought forward to the campaign over and over and over again and ignored. Completely ignored. And then, you know, also, I don't know when as a party we're going to learn. It's like we're having a crisis of identity. In what reality does running around the country with Liz Cheney and boasting about Dick Cheney's endorsements, as we are finding our way back into another forever war, Dick Cheney being the face in large part of the last forever war, how does that help us? And it was this again, something that was brought up over and over and over again. And we said this to them. Many of us said this to the campaign, that they will not be able to make up the support they're hemorrhaging
now
from our community and from allied communities and from people who care about everyday issues, working class issues, by tacking to the right. And again, went ignored. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see that a lot of people did stay home. And then, of course, we did see a shift in some of those numbers, especially among Latino men and of course, white men and white women.
Oh, I mean, no question. I mean, because indeed, Jill Stein ended up with 697,000 votes plus, Robert Kennedy 676,000 votes plus, no electoral college votes, but every vote matters, right? And so, I mean, what? I'm just trying to find out. We just see that Arizona was called late last night for former President Trump, now President-elect Trump. And so it's a clean sweep of the swing states, Rania. What does that say to you? Because, you know, you know this, you know as well as I do. You sit up in Washington at the campaign headquarters, and they've got all of these highly paid political consultants. And you've been on my show, you've been on this show. People have complained you're not talking to people in the community activists. You've said that too. You're like, wait a minute. These are the people who convince folks' neighbors, people see every day. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, my gosh, that's such a good, important point. And I know Pennsylvania still hasn't been called on the U.S. Senate side yet, but every other U.S. Senate races in those swing states have been called for Democrats. So what does that tell you? You know what I mean? I feel like what that tells us is the message was lost. And exactly what we talked about before and what you just named so perfectly. Those community organizing, those people on the ground who understand the pain and the daily reality, and maybe it's not even just pain. Maybe it's just like even the slightest bit of struggle that's weighing heavy. Those people on the ground understand that because they're talking to those people. So those state campaigns, those statewide campaigns across the border, Mike Gallego and Tammy Baldwin and et cetera, on and on and on. They're on the ground talking to those people. And I just don't think that was translating at the top of the ticket. And exactly like you said, and I say this, Jim Zogny has not called me out. He's always very loving, but I am a consultant. I always sort of pride myself in not being like all the other consultants. I feel like, that can kind of be a four-letter word these days. Hiding out in that sort of closed group and not being on the ground and hearing what people are going through and thinking you're going to go into a Michigan, a Wisconsin, a Pennsylvania, even in Arizona, et cetera, with attacking to the right and not talking to the people and what their needs are. And somebody, I don't remember if it was a guest or a caller, somebody said, going in and just being it was all about how terrible Trump was. And he is terrible. We all agree on that. But tell me what you're going to do. We saw this in 2016 also. Hillary Clinton was the anti-Trump candidate. It was all about how terrible this man is. And we know, especially Democrats and largely independents too. What's that saying? It's like Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love.
Yes.
And I think that's true. People are going to believe something. People are going to believe in.
And also, who cares about that? I mean, and when I say who cares about that, the more you say you don't want to be like something, you become that. Enough. Just your own virtues are more than enough. People vote for things. People voted for him, not against anyone else. Even with all of his negatives, people saw something positive in him because that's all he projected. Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner, what did you see? Because you've had to campaign for yourself, for other people. You're on the ground, but you're also you're at the table while people are making decisions. What happened here?
As well as of being a surrogate for the Harris Walz campaign. And so I, for the last couple of months, traveled the country, specifically in swing states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, even spent some time in Georgia and Florida on behalf of the campaign. And what I was hearing from folks on the ground, the first thing I'll start off with, and I've been saying this everywhere I go, is that Kamala Harris was tasked with an impossible task. And like many Black women before her in the history of this country, she was asked to fix something that she didn't break. And when we look at the sentiment of folks around this country, it really is time to take a real step back and reset to figure out what the Democratic Party can do differently. What I know to be true is that, many of these issues were very clear to us in 2016. When we saw what happened with Hillary Clinton, when we saw what was going on around the country, we had a blueprint on what we were doing wrong, but we didn't adhere to it. When the pandemic happened, we began to kind of lose our sensibility. And in 2020, Joe Biden campaigned on really being the anti-Trump, basically in a remote way, because there was not a lot of hand-to-hand contact, right? In that election, I think we lost our political instincts in those spaces. And so when we look at the way forward, electoral politics is not feelings-based, it's formula-based, right? This is mathematics, and we know where the votes are. We know that 40% of the American electorate decided not to vote. We've got to find a way to do that. But I think it's also important to say that we made this a personality competition and a character competition. And Santita, what I've been reminding folks is that we have made the mistake as Democrats of believing that people look for the same thing in a president. It's not the same. Of course, no one wants to live with or be in love with a narcissist or an egomaniacal person. But the compromise to vote for someone like that to lead the country is a little less stringent for most people. And so we can't continue this morally superior thing that we do because many folks have not bought into it. And the last thing I'll say in that space, we spent a lot of time talking about Donald Trump being a convicted felon. We're still doing it today. I'm listening to radio and watching TV and reading articles around the country this morning, and a lot of Democrats are responding saying, this guy's a convicted felon. I think it's disingenuous to be the party that has framed ourselves as the party of redemption and resurrection, the party who believes in helping people who have been involved in the criminal legal system, and then using someone's involvement in the criminal legal system as a reason why we should be in charge. I think we've got to take a step back and find more ways to get our point across.
But Representative Buckner, with people with all these moral failings, which people do have, not to mention the fact that most of us have someone who's been in the criminal justice system. Okay. So at some point, you have to understand that doesn't land well with everybody, particularly who people who have loved ones who are trying to come back and get reintegrated into society, having paid their debt. Now, mind you, he hasn't paid his debt yet, but people are not feeling that. And, enough already. It didn't work. The more he was convicted, the stronger he got in the polls. Did you mean, so I'm like, you know what? If I see that happening, it's like, read the room. I'm not going to touch it anymore because this clearly is not working. I need to go down another road because these folks don't care about that. I mean, and you saw that on the ground, did you not?
When people were talking about the fact, and the party were talking about the fact that he had been twice impeached, and that he had been, he had all these court cases going on. People didn't want to hear about that. They wanted to hear about, as the earlier speaker said, the economy. They wanted to know what this meant for their families. And I'll also say two things. I think, when you talk about what a good economy looks like, on paper we have a good economy, right? And that's the jobless numbers. That's the stock market. That's the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. That's the durable goods orders, housing permits, all of that stuff that folks in that space use to say whether or not the economy is good. But people want to feel it at the table, as was said. They want to know, how much gas is, how much rent is, how much milk and eggs are. But what I will say is that if Donald Trump had this economy built back with all those other indicators being good, his messaging would have been so on point in a way that you would have believed that we had the best economy in the world, because he would have shouted it from the mountaintops. We really had a messaging problem, and this is not a Kamala Harris problem. The Joe Biden administration, they've really done a job of showing how much work they did for the American people. They just couldn't message it the right way over the last 3.75 years. And Vice President Harris was the beneficiary of having to carry that mantle for the last 107 days.
Well, and it, Rania, it had her twisted up like a pretzel, and it hurt me to see it, because you said, I'm wondering, is she the captain of the ship or is she the captive of the campaign? I said, wow, what a brilliant insight, Rania.
I'm glad you complimented me, because I really just wanted to respond. And I think the fine point that just was spoken, she was required to fix something she didn't break.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like almost every woman in this country understands that sentiment. Just about, and maybe in the world. My frustration, I have to tell you, because that is 1,000,000% correct, is that she wouldn't, couldn't, didn't separate herself from just deeply failed policies. And there's some things that the Biden administration did well. And I've said this for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, as a party, we're not very good at patting our own backs and saying and explaining, like, look what we did from a legislative perspective. So that is just reality. I'm going to put that to the side. There are deep failures that poll after poll after poll for over a year showed were not just failures, they were costing votes, energy, excitement for us. And she is exactly right. She was handed something that wasn't hers. She didn't break it. But then
Mm-hmm.
out of her own mouth, there's nothing she would do differently than President Biden.
Mm.
And then when she corrected herself on that, it was that, no, let me tell you, actually there is, I would have a Republican in my cabinet.
Oh, and I'm rolling with Liz Cheney, whose father put us in Iraq. We lost 1 million Iraqis, credibility all over the world. Oh, and the 2000 election was stolen. Did I say that part? Okay, yeah. I'm not over that yet. I'm not. I'm still crunchy. It's been 24 years. I'm not happy. Stay right there. Oh, salty, crunchy with pretzels. We'll be back with more Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Hope Alive.
You all, we're on Facebook and, well, several platforms. And so anything you say, everybody can hear, but people love the crosstalk during the commercial. So, I mean, Representative Buckner, I don't know if you've met Tennessee State Representative G.A. Hardaway. He and Reverend Jackson have worked together for decades. And of course, we've got the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Attorney Daryl Jones, and Rania Patrice. She is a national Democratic operative and a Palestinian American activist. We've been working with her for quite some time as well. And so everyone, wow. Tracy, you said that Vice President Harris ran a flawless campaign in 3 months against a corrupt felon who's been running for 4 years. The loss was due to Charlie Kirk and white nationalists aided by Russia all over social media. I don't know if it's Russia, Tracy. Everybody continues to talk about Russia, and yet we want AIPAC out of politics. How about that? So I don't know. I don't know. We keep going over all those pieces. So, I mean, just Russia. It was a Russian hoax. 8 years ago. Russia, let them go. They ain't thinking about us. Not like that. They're not rolling on us that hard. Other people are. Other people have covered our Congress and they own it. How about that part? And it was not a flawless campaign. It was not. It was not flawlessly run. And everybody here who participated in it, they are telling you so. I mean, I hear you. I wanted her to win. I absolutely wanted her to win. And it was when it came upon me, Rania, and Representative Patterson and Representative Buckner and Attorney Jones, that she lost. It was almost, I held everything together and that's when I cried. I didn't weep, but I did cry. Because I knew, I could only imagine. I knew, because all my friends were at Howard that night. I couldn't get there because I had a dental infection. And my friends were calling me and they were like, well, what do you see? What do you see? What do you see? Because it got to a point where I really, after the show, couldn't really speak because I was so swollen. And I was like, this early in the game for her to be this far behind with the electoral vote, this doesn't look well. I mean, because I saw this in 2016. I was sitting in New York. I was about to go on. I was on my way to the Fox News studios. And I'm sitting with my brother, Jonathan, who was not in Congress yet. We're sitting with some friends and in the hotel lobby. And we watched this man by 6:30, 7 o'clock, just racking up the electoral votes. And my brother said, he's got this thing. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. No, I mean, because up until that point, I thought this was a joke. Oh, no, we're on air. They called the election for Donald Trump. Before everybody I had a hit like at 2 o'clock in the morning and another one at 6. No need for that. The election was over before 11 o'clock. I mean, and Ronnie, I don't know what Representative Buckner, you were out there. You were reading the room. Did anyone not listen to you?
it felt like we were playing it safe in a way that we were playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Now I need you to turn up the volume just a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes.
Yeah, I said it felt in many ways that we were playing to just not to lose instead of playing to win. The vice president has a lot of strengths and skills that we just didn't utilize for some reason.
Oh, no, stand by. No, I want you to say that because I'm only going to have a few seconds before I go, but I want you to say that before we go to break, okay?
Okay.
Oh.
10 seconds.
You're
Okay.
listening to Keep Hope Alive. We want to hear from you. Please email your questions or comments to Reverend Jesse Jackson at keephopealiveradio.com.
Live.
Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. We are just really going over the election and really looking at a path forward. We're waiting on what's going to happen in the U.S. House of Representatives. Will the Democrats be able to capture the majority and make Hakeem Jeffries the speaker? But Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner, you made a brilliant point before we go out to break. I got about 15 seconds for you to make it.
Yeah, so I was just saying that what I saw with the campaign trail was that we really were playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And the vice president has an amazing set of skill sets that we hid under a bushel, which I think was hurtful. Not only was she just the Attorney General of California. California has 40 million people. It's bigger than Canada. It's bigger than Australia. She ran one of the biggest government offices in the world, and we didn't use those type of anecdotes to tell her story. And I think we did her.
Well, I tell you what, Tracy, I hear you, but we can't wait for people to figure it out. We've got to get to work. We've got a lot to do. We won't have to work whether she was won or not. So let's talk about this, everybody. What's the path forward? But let's see what happened this past week. Back with Keep Hope Alive.
Alive with Reverend
Can we
Jesse
all take 2
Jackson.
seconds?
For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Okay.
We're off at 58:26, but that is
If
a
it's
little
off
bit
by
slower.
2. Okay. All right. You don't play. You don't
Wait,
play.
they can't hear you.
Oh, okay. You don't play not to lose, Cam, when you
Totally
are
agree.
behind. Are you kidding me?
I totally agree.
That is crazy. And you knew that she had her struggles as a candidate anyway. She had really grown. But I mean, and you know what? I tell you what, you saw this yesterday at Push, Cam, because Cam was part of a panel at Push, and he was brilliant. And the young people did not appreciate these celebrity endorsements, Ronnie, and Representative Hardaway and Attorney Jones. They did not appreciate that. And I thought, and you're one of the young people, Representative Buckner. You too, Rania. And I just said, wait a minute. It's very interesting that this did not land well with them. It didn't. Stand by.
Good morning and welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend
Regardless,
Jesse
when
Jackson.
you ask people
What?
why they voted for him, they can't really say nothing.
What'd you say? No, you
You
make
ask
the point when we
people
get on the air.
Jackson Live. Call
Yeah, I want you to.
1-866-59.
Finish chewing.
I'm not.
1-866-594.
Finish chewing.
And now, for Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I am Santita Jackson. Some of you have wondered where Reverend Jackson is. I tell you what, he's on his way to church. And so we're going to bring him on. I promise you it is still his show. But one of the things that we've been dealing with Parkinson's, and of course this is Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. Is that my father's accustomed to having 20-hour days. You know that, Jeremy. He comes in here, he would come in here rolling and running and running and rolling. And I think one of the sources of frustration for him is that he really can't do that anymore. His mind keeps going, but the body he's got to get his rest. And so he actually goes to a couple of church services every Sunday. And so I said, okay, well, if you've been out just a little too long the night before, let you have a little bit of rest. But we're going to bring him back on because he always is listening and wants to know what has happened on his show, because it is still the Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson show.
So,
I'm just the
so
producer and the co-host. So everybody, let's talk about the election, everybody. Let's talk about what happened. Last weekend when we were on, we were hearing that the race was tighter than this, all one word, that we were tied. Well, it turns out that wasn't quite the story. When we look at what's happened, all of the swing states, all of them went to Trump, all of them. And he, while he fell short of the number of votes that he got, uh, what, 4 years ago,
what's your name?
he still did quite well. And so I want to know what your thoughts are. I mean, because
And
he
where you come from?
cleaned up in the Electoral College. He did. He got 74.6 million votes. She got 70.9 million votes. He got 312 Electoral College votes. She got 226. Jill Stein got 697,000 plus votes. Robert Kennedy, 676,000 plus votes. They neither of them won any Electoral College votes. The Democrats lost 4 seats in the U.S. Senate. Even Sherrod Brown lost. Wow. It's a clear Republican majority. Republicans 53, Democrats 46. The U.S. House is still yet to be decided. According to Leader Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries, the man who would be Speaker, there's still a pathway for Democrats to claim the majority. Certainly do hope that will happen, but we have yet to see. But no matter what happens, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got our work cut out for us. And so we've got to talk with you about this. Indeed, among the foremost Democratic post-election analyses, we heard from legendary Democratic figure, former California Assembly Speaker and former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who mentored Kamala Harris into prominence in politics, as he did with Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, Dianne Feinstein, Maxine Waters. He has been the man in California politics. And he said, look, Democrats have become the elite party, while Republicans have become the party of the working class. He said, and guess what? They're becoming multiracial. How did that happen? How? So I want you all to call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Donald Trump campaigned with the working class. He spoke to them, and then he ended up becoming a spokesman for them. Now, what's the path forward, everybody? And what happened here? What about the migrant crisis, right? I mean, how are you going to deport 10 million plus people? How's that going to work? Or bring them in and out seasonally? How's that supposed to work? America never learned the lesson. You know, you're not supposed to use slave labor. And indeed, an initiative on slave labor used in the prison system actually failed in the United States. It's a lot of stuff that we've got to dig in on. And so we've got a tremendous panel who are going to help us to do that. We want to hear from you at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. I do hope that you will join me on my show, the Santita Jackson Show. I'm on the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Santita Jackson Show, but I'm on AM 950 Radio, 6 to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 5 days a week. So let us get right to it. And on Reverend Jackson's page, I stream there. On my page, Santita Jackson and Friends, we're going to be talking about some of that this afternoon. But Jeremy, you made a point. The fight continues. You said, Tracy, but not with subversives. See you in 2 years. Okay, sweetheart. You take care, but keep on fighting no matter what. Your observation, my wingman, Jeremy Geiger, newly married Jeremy Geiger.
Yeah. No, one of my observations I saw was when I asked somebody the reason why, they voted for Trump. I could never really get a clear answer. I get an answer like the economy was better. Gas was down to $1.50. And I'm just like, okay.
And that's it.
That's it. Like, what else? Or is the conversation about, well, Vice President Harris didn't convince me. I'm just like, well, Trump convinced you with the riot. Trump convinced you with talking about COVID and not being real. He took credit for stuff that wasn't his. So it was like he convinced you, but you didn't vote for Harris because she didn't convince you right away.
Well, there you go. And there's that. I don't get it. But Democrats have a habit of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. I mean, because you got Bernie Sanders, one of the top crowd makers in the party. I didn't see him a whole lot on the trail, so I just don't know. You all have to help me out with this one. 866-594-HOPE. Let's talk about it here on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. And you know what? Let's talk about the path forward, because there is one. There is one. No matter who won, you are going to have to work. And we have to work right now. What is it that we want? More than that, first, what is it that we need? We might not have gotten who we wanted, but we certainly need to fight for what we need. That's the nature of politics. So let's get to it, everybody. But we want to hear just, it's retail politics. And the voters are the consumers. There was something that the Democrats did not, they didn't lock in with the people. They didn't lock in. So something happened. Let's talk about it here on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Back in just a moment.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-59.
Calling you shortly. Yep, I'm on the air. We'll call you right back.
4673.
Okay, honey, love you. Bye-bye.
Go with your
John
gut.
Nichols' number.
Keep Hope Alive.
Oh, boy.
Keep Hope Alive. Hello.
You know, Facebook user, you said he will federalize local law enforcement and invoke acts of long ago to give the executive sweeping powers to execute mass detention and deportation operation. And, you know, and that's something that, quite honestly, the executive branch has been moving toward the centralization of their power for decades. You know, I was reading Rania and Representatives Hardaway and Buckner and Attorney Jones. Everybody keeps saying that, or many folks say, you know, Trump is not who we are. And I've been reading a few op-ed pieces that say, you know, no, he's exactly who we are. He's a reflection of all that we are. I mean, the boom, boom, 80s, he was a reflection of that. Reality TV, he's a reflection of that. The populist anger, he's a reflection of that.
Good morning, John.
You know, he just moves with the zeitgeist.
I'm going to lock you
Good to hear
you.
Thank you. I've been saying.
Hold on, please.
Representative Buckner, what were you saying?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. I think I'm frozen.
Everything froze?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
The times are still going up, but I'm not able to do anything. Yep, everything closed.
Everything froze?
Hello.
Oh.
Hi, this is Mel from La Palma.
Hold on.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Everything just closed on me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Keep Up Alive.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm voting for Trump.
All right.
And,
What's your name? What's your name?
My name's Keith.
All right. Who are you calling from, Keith?
Daytona Beach, Florida.
All right. Hold on, Keith. Yeah, I lost everybody.
Oh, wow. Do you need to call him
Keep
back?
Up Alive.
Oh,
Who's
no.
this? Is this John?
Hey, this is Mel from La Palma, California, right next to Buena Park. And yeah, I have 3 points to make on the program.
All right. Hold on, man.
Okay. Who do we have?
Hold on, Muhammad.
We have Muhammad. We have Anita.
No, I don't have Anita.
Okay. Muhammad.
John Nichols?
Yeah, I got cut off when you
Yeah.
were to me.
Yeah. Hold on.
You have to get everybody else back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have Anita. Anita, call back.
Anita. And
John
Anita.
Nichols here.
who else do we have as
Okay.
callers?
So what?
Who else do we have as callers?
You
Muhammad.
have Keith,
Keith.
Muhammad, Anita, and Mel.
Mel.
Mel's the one that voted for Trump.
Okay, great.
Hey, Santita.
Yes. Hey, sweetie. How are you? Just trying to keep up with the callers, too.
Oh, it's crazy. You know, I only have a couple minutes. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it to you, but we got a panel of people too, and I wanted you.
Oh, of course. No.
No,
I just gotta cut out Curtis Red. My apology.
And no, and you got church, and we've got these callers who are calling in, including a gentleman who wants to tell us why he voted for President Trump. I can't wait to hear from him.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm not going to get to hear that one. That sounds interesting. Yeah.
It's okay. I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's quite a day, quite a time.
Well, it is. But
we'll have to talk more in the future on this because there's much to unpack, of course.
I think so.
Yeah. And maybe even a little good in it all.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot that's good. If we learn the lessons, there's a lot that's good. Who do we have?
Yeah, all right.
John?
Keep up with our, please hold on, please.
You're so right.
4673.
Keep up live.
This is Rania. The call got dropped for some reason.
Everybody got dropped. Hold on. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Keep up alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Let's get right to it. We've been talking about this election. It's going to take us some time to unpack what happened because a lot happened at the top of the ticket. A lot happened in the U.S. Senate, the House of Representatives, state races, and the legislatures and the assemblies, the gubernatorial races, county races.
Everybody got
just other state races. A lot happened, and we need to talk about that. So we want to hear from you at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. I'm Sam Tita Jackson. So let's get right to it. We've got John Nichols on his way to church giving us a brief snapshot, but we're going to have you back on. Certainly, I want to have you on my show this week because I cannot wait to I think you're right. It's going to take us some time to unpack all of this. I mean, last week we were hearing that the race was tighter than this, John, but early in the evening you saw Trump was cleaning up in the Electoral College race. I mean, it was by 8 o'clock Central. It was like he was over 200. I was like, whoa, what is going on here? She can't catch up to that. So talk to me. What happened?
Yeah. First off, I think we need to establish once and for all that the polls don't know how to ascertain what is happening in our politics anymore. And this has happened now in several cycles, right? It's become such a pattern that we should just acknowledge that fact, that whatever pollsters seek to do, they're not as good at it as they would want. And so once we accept that and recognize that, what we have to do is dig into a host of factors. And this shows the perfect place to do it because we have to examine the issues of race and gender in our politics. These are things you can't avoid. These are realities, but they are also not certainties. They don't define everything going forward. We have the ability to respond to these challenges and rise from them, and I think we will. With that said, there were also challenges. I think that one thing to understand is that Kamala Harris was given 107 days in which to take a Democratic Party that was in complete chaos.
Hey, Cam?
Joe Biden, very good man.
No, it was us. Everybody dropped. All right, I'm like you went.
Where it could take them to a point where it's impossible.
Keep up alive.
The polling was terrible in this summer.
Okay, something's wrong with our phone system. Hold on, Fred. Much luck you in.
Did she do everything perfectly? No. Did she run a dignified campaign that was, in fact, very honorable and really did try, I think, to achieve many of the goals? Yes, she did. It fell short. But
We have to
remember is that
take some
down ballot tell us that
calls.
this is a much more complex situation. And in Arizona, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Nevada, most of other states, battleground states, closely divided states.
We'll have to take some
Democrats
calls.
won the Senate seat.
We'll have to take some calls because right now,
Okay.
all my lines are full.
Okay.
We have 5 callers. One,
Who do I have?
you have Keith, Muhammad, Anita, Mel, and Fred.
Is unsettled. It is not.
So the only guest we have on
a great deal
is John Nichols, Rania, Cam, T.O., and Dr. Amar.
Remember, if by some chance, it's an uphill fight, I acknowledge, but there's still a lot of seats in California to be counted, etc. If Democrats were to take the House, Jamie Raskin, the former lawyer for the Rainbow, would be in charge of the Oversight Committee, the committee that deals with investigations, making sure everybody's accountable. What an incredible moment that would be to have Jamie Raskin in that position at this time. We also have to recognize that just to having control of the House, or even being close to control, gives progressive forces a lot to work with. Not everything, not all we need. I'm not putting on rose-colored glasses. But what I am saying is there's space there that matters. I think also, Cynthia, you're brilliant to focus on states. We have already seen governors in states say that they are going to protect their people, right? They're going to defend their people. Now, that's not true in every state, because not every state has a progressive governor. But you've seen it in Illinois, you've seen it in California, you've seen it in other states, Wisconsin. That's going to be a big factor. And one of the real pieces of good news is that across the country, in unexpected places like Montana, and certainly in Wisconsin, we saw multiracial, multi-ethnic slate of legislative candidates do better, right? Expand their position in the state legislatures. And so this is much more of a mixed picture than a lot of people, might imagine. And then one final thing, in that long count of votes, let me just remind you, there are still millions of votes to be counted, most of them on the West Coast. It is not certain that Donald Trump will have a majority of the votes from Tuesday. He had a plurality. There is no question he's defeated Kamala Harris. But this notion that he somehow had an overwhelming victory, no, it's more complex than that. We should examine that victory. We should look at it and try and figure things out. We should be humble. We should recognize mistakes were made. Complexities are always there. But at the same time, we should not leap to the conclusion that America has somehow become, a mega country, an extreme right-wing country. There's much more to this. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, as Reverend Jackson taught us so well, over many, many years, when you lose an election, you do two things. One, you dust yourself off and get up the next morning knowing all of the complexities of our politics, and you go on because we don't have a choice to go to the sidelines. Secondly, when you lose an election, you do look outward and inward. You look at your own party and you say, why wasn't this party able to win this race? What needs to change? What needs to improve? And there's going to be a lot of that with the Democratic Party. That's not unhealthy. There's nothing wrong with looking at your party and trying to make it a better place. Many of the people from the Rainbow, folks like Jim Zogby, have been arguing for years that this party needs to focus a lot more on its core constituencies, on Black voters, Latino voters, Asian American voters, Arab American voters who were so disappointed by the Biden administration's Gaza stance. This party needs to really focus back in on young voters. Zogby is still making that case, and perhaps now he will be heard. Because the fact of the matter is, and I'll close with this basic thought, Kamala Harris spent an immense amount of time on the campaign trail with Liz Cheney, campaigning with her in states across the country. There is no evidence from the data of this election that campaigning with Liz Cheney helped in any way. It didn't move places where she campaigned. It didn't move conservatives in the exit polls. Mm-hmm. And so think of those days that were spent campaigning with Liz Cheney, how much more powerful they could have been if they were spent reaching out to the core constituencies of the Democratic Party, listening to them, growing them, reaching to new constituencies that may not know as much about the party but might be open to it. There is so much space that could yet be filled. And if you recognize that maybe all that time with Liz Cheney was wasted, but if you learn from it, what comes next could be dramatically better.
Absolutely. And registering voters. Hello, that's how Reverend won. He was that mean enough of that already. Plus, I can tell you from personal experience and polling, I talked to young people. They were angered. They were angered by Liz Cheney. No. But let me start with Liz Cheney, but specifically by her, because they said we've been told, we've seen what she has done, because she's her family part of the history books. Her dad is. They're bothered by that. They're like, how are you gonna ram her down my throat now? I had some young people tell me that this week. They said, so no. And Gaza, yeah.
End of the day, we don't have to point fingers of recrimination at, specific person or something like that. There's something deeper, a deeper challenge with the Democratic Party, that when it gets into situations like this, instead of embracing the rainbow vision, the Jesse Jackson vision, it so frequently goes to try and find somebody in the middle or somebody on the right who might come over. There are tens of millions of people who are progressive who simply need to be invited in. And that invite can't be insincere. It's got to be real. You have to do the outreach. And part of the outreach is to look at your stands on the issues. And there should have been an examination of the party's stand on Gaza. And it should have changed.
But you know what?
That's bottom line.
Well,
I think it would have been a much better result.
no question. John Nichols from the Nation magazine, everybody. Bless your heart as you go to church day. I mean, I think we have to deal with the fact that, Rania, that the party's to the right of many of us. That's what I mean. It has right-wing inclinations. It just has leftist cultural appeals. They do it with a smile. And we're constantly having to push. I don't mind pushing, but the thing is, you got to listen to me if you want my vote. I mean, that's just the reality. Let me get some of these callers in before I get the rest of our panel in. Let me go to you, Mel. Mel, what's on your mind today?
And the first two are the main issues that I heard in support of Trump was the economy, and the next one was immigration. Well, let's see. We've had the reduction in inflation has been so phenomenal that the interest rates are coming down. But that didn't get much press, now did it? And then on the immigration, I just read here, Friday Pointers. I didn't know about this. 76% decrease in illegal crossings since December? Well, have I heard that anywhere? Yeah, I have. I heard it this morning from it, that I heard enough that when a friend tells me that, wasn't that a brilliant debate that, with the Trump debate? And I was like, he's such a liar. And she says, but the immigration, I said, the immigration has been going down, because it had been going down at that point. And the last point is something Bill Clinton said, wrong and strong will always win over weak and right. And what we have to compete with is all these issues are just little issues. No, the big thing is propaganda. These platforms where people can go on and on the debate, this is my last point, on the debate here, I thought there was going to be no fact checking. No, we're just trying to qualify what we're hearing here. But you see, we got to get strong on those platforms where we can challenge that no alternative facts aren't lies. Call them what you will, but we all know them as lies. And that's all I got to say.
Well, you said a whole lot, and I want to thank you for listening today here on Keepable Live with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Let me get you up, Keith. Keith, what's on your mind?
I feel like you guys are like
Wait, Keith, hold on 1 second. Okay, now because we were having some audio issues. Go on, Keith. Keith?
Yeah.
Oh no, please continue. We were having audio issues. I wanted you to be heard.
Guys are wandering in the desert, and if you keep on going away, you're going to leave the next election. And I wanted to speak to your last guest about the polls. Well, he's listening to the wrong polls, because if you look deeper, like if you looked at Rasmussen, what's considered a right-wing poll, he hit it on the nail, and he was calling it Trump all the way. And if you look at the results, he hit it right on the nail. And so what I'm saying, it's the mainstream media who's fooling you. And they're the ones who have been misleading it, and the American public are seeing through it. And I just want to say also, you're not going to win the House. And then my main point is that you wonder why you won the election, and it's because, just take, for example, immigration. I listen to you guys on this every Sunday, and you're talking about the illegal, they're taking jobs, they are sending complaints. Well, that's a big issue. You have the cities all over the country that people aren't reading at their grade level, and there's crime all over, people are feeling it, and I've heard you complain about it.
No, not on this show. What you've heard me. No, Keith, let me, Keith, hold on. Keith, no, because this is, let me just tell you the tack of this show. I must tell you, a source of frustration for me has been the fact that we've ignored something called the tent program for refugees. Have you heard about that? Okay, it is a collection of some of the 400 plus of the top corporations in the world, who have been lobbying to bring in migrants into Europe, into North America, to work for cheap, right? And no one's looking at this corporate move to bring Venezuelans out of Venezuela, to bring Africans out of African nations. But while the so-called Western nations go into these countries to take their oil and their resources, that's been a source of frustration for me and for our guests on this show. And what we don't do on this show is blame people who are really victims of their circumstances for the circumstances in which they find themselves. Because what has happened in Chicago, Keith, is very, very quietly at the beginning of the pandemic, at the beginning of the Ukraine conflict, 38,000 Ukrainians were settled into Chicago. You didn't hear anything about it. They were fast-tracked to citizenship, and they were also given a pathway to home ownership and jobs. But no one has talked about that, Keith. Nobody. It's something that the corporate media, most people don't trust them anyway. The research polls from the right and the left say that. Pew and Rasmussen. Yes. Sure. Stay right there. No, stay right there. Keith, stay right there. Stay right there, Keith. We're going to talk during the break. We got to go to the break, though. But stay right here. I want the rest of the panel to hear what you've got to say so they can respond to you. Back with more Keep It Alive in just a minute.
Need you to help me to hold up. Give me patience.
Your opinion counts. 1-866.
Keith?
Hold on, let me look at it.
Oh, Keith?
Yes, hello.
Hey, hon, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to cut you off. I just had to go to commercial break because we're in syndication and we have to stay in sync with our affiliates, okay?
Right, okay.
But I wanted you to be able to complete your thought before you go. Okay? So you're saying, I don't think with that, I don't think we disagree on everything,
Well, let me tell you something.
Wait, Keith, hold on.
Okay.
We're having some audio issues today where we're getting a lot of distortion. So that's when you hear me stop you, I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm trying to stop you until it clears up. Yes, it's back now. Yes.
That's better. Okay. Well, I just want to tell you, I was a young man, 24, when I heard your father, 1988, a hot night in July. It was an amazing speech, and I would have voted for him. But I feel like you guys have kind of lost your way, where it's all about the oppressed and the oppressor.
And it's not that simple anymore. You've done great things for the country, but I don't think you've moved forward. I just don't. And so,
Well, when you say it's all about the oppressed and the oppressor, what do you mean?
Well, I just feel like, with the whole Hamas situation, I mean, the world works the way it works. When you get invaded and yet people get killed, I mean, it's the same thing as 44,000 people in America get killed. And if that happened to us, we would be defending ourselves. But you can't, you have to drive your head to that.
But you know what we found
And
out?
so,
We
the
found
world
out,
doesn't
Keith.
work.
But Keith, wait a minute. We found out that a lot of the 1,200 people who were killed and what happened on October 7th was a tragedy. But the Nakba has been a tragedy, and the more than 200,000 people who've been killed. I mean, these are people who kill surgically. They're surgically precise. No. It's not Hamas numbers. Now these are international numbers.
Or UN numbers.
The Lancet, the Lancet study, which comes, they're not with the UN. The Lancet is the medical journal, one of the most esteemed medical journals that comes out of the UK. They're the ones who told us that 1 million Iraqis have been killed. But sweetie, I'm gonna have to let you go. But would you keep listening to the show?
I do every Sunday.
Well, I mean, I want you to continue to call in, okay?
Okay.
All right, sweetie. Thank you so much. Who do we have?
All right.
Do we have Dr. Malvo?
No.
Okay,
We have,
who do we have?
Dr. Ali Amar.
Dr. Amar.
Tio, Cam, Rania.
Okay, great. Hey, everybody. Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We have had a lot to talk about today, Jeremy, about this election. A lot of people are quite full, and so we've had full phone lines, and we're trying to get you and our esteemed panelists on. And so we still have Rania Patrice with us, thankfully, Democratic operative and Palestinian American activist. And we've got Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner, who was a surrogate for the Harris Walz campaign. He went through a lot of the swing states. And I can't wait to have you back on the show, Representative Buckner, because you have brilliant analysis and tremendous experience, just out on this road. And we have got Tio Hardiman, who just came off of his own radio show on WVON, which is on from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. The Violence Interrupters. Indeed, he's one of the premier community activists in the country, based here in Chicago. And Dr. Alia Amar. She indeed is an activist in the Palestinian community, in the Black Muslim community, and a brilliant research scientist as well. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Let me start with you, Dr. Amar. I'm going to go back through the panel, and then we're going to get some of these callers in. Were you surprised by Tuesday's results?
I was disappointed, but I was not surprised. And the reason that I will say that I wasn't surprised is that, as you know, I've been saying since at least October 10th. I was in Palestine and Israel on October 7th. It took several days to get back to the United States. As soon as I landed, I started pushing the message that we were going to lose this election if the Democratic Party did not hear and respond to the Palestinian crisis, to what was happening to Palestinians as well. If the argument remained one-sided, if we simply kept pushing arms to support genocide, we were going to lose this. Because while the party seems to have attempted to focus on what the number of Arabs and what the number of Muslims were in any given spot, and then attempt to pull a different population that could replace the loss of those votes, what they weren't paying attention to was listening, and how they could change their message. Because it wasn't that they simply lost Muslims and Arabs. Muslims and Arabs are not responsible for this loss. They lost the millions of people that have gotten out and marched and fought, the progressive core, the anti-war core. They lost a coalition of people. And I believe that
Malvo, can you get her on?
Have pivoted her message early, begun to discuss things like the just and equal application of the law. I know you've heard me say that before. The just and equal application of the law, both domestic and international. And it would have been a more unifying message that progressives, Muslims could have heard as something different and aligned with them. But what they instead heard was an appeal to vote for a party that has actively been engaged in genocide. And that is nonsensical. As James Baldwin said, we can agree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and
Good
right
morning, Dr.
to exist.
Malvo. This is Keep Up
And if
Alive.
you are on the wrong side of that quote, you're going to be on the wrong side of the majority of people who are traditionally Democrats.
Everybody, I want you to continue to give us a call. We have Dr. Julianne Malveaux with us. Dr. Malveaux, I know you got a lot going on this morning. Thank you for holding on for us. We've had full lines for the whole show because everybody wants to weigh in on this election because, well, you know, my mother had it right, Dr. Malveaux, you know, as you're joining this tremendous panel, excuse me. She said a lot of people are going to have very, very strong feelings about this either way it goes. And she said about half the country is going to be very, very disappointed by the result. And she said, so be prepared for that and walk very, very gingerly, very gently. One of the things that our fathers taught us, and our mother too, you know, you handle victory with grace, but you handle a loss with the same, you know, with equanimity. So were you surprised by what happened on Tuesday? I guess we should just start there and stay there for a moment.
I wasn't surprised at all, actually. I mean, I was disappointed, of course. Our hopes were lifted, especially at that Chicago convention. Our hopes were very lifted. But I've been Black for a long time. 71 years to be exact. So I've lived through Nixon and Reagan and Bush's, and that's not the point. The point is that everything there will be America. I think that everybody's going to have a post-mortem about what happened at the election. And there were a lot of lies told. And though people are not better off economically under Trump, but that's not the point. The point is that it's not what the data say, it's how people feel. It's how people feel. If people went in feeling disappointed and they didn't like the process. And, you know, like I said, I was hopeful. I don't know if I sent you a column I wrote. I said, you know, so she lost. What's next? We don't ever give up. As Black people, we don't ever give up. As progressive people, we don't ever give up. So, you know, I was with the Roland Martin crew on Tuesday night. I did an hour on WTFW. And by the way, listen up, people. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., WTFWFM.org. We're getting up for an event that Dr. Ron Davis is planning a town hall on what happened in Washington, D.C., and it will be streamed Thursday, November 14th at 5:30 p.m., or I think 6:30 p.m., forgive me. But in any case, Santita, I was not stunned because if you live long enough, you live through these disappointments. So I wasn't stunned. And it was interesting. I was with a bunch of young people. I think I was the OG in the crowd that Roland had. There were about 20 of us who were rotating tapes, seats and doing all that. And I could see the young sisters, the hurt in their faces. I ain't hurt. I know America. You know, I'm not hurt. What I am is apprehensive about what comes ahead. We're still waiting to see what happens with the House. If the Republicans get the House, this man has the essentially unfettered ability to rock through the way government is organized. We can start with OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health. We can talk about the National Labor Relations Board. We can talk about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We can go down a list. They laid it all out in 2015, Project 2025. And as Dr. Maya always said, when people tell you they are, believe them. So trust and believe this man is going to do as much damage as he can, as quickly as he can. At the same time, Santita, I ain't duped and I ain't scorned. I am energized and ready for the next chapter of this fight, which we've been fighting since we got here in 1619. This is not new information. It's disappointing because we came so close. But let's give your Howard sister, our Divine Nine sister, props. She did beautifully, and she showed a kind of class that we have not seen on the other side. She did a beautiful job of putting together a campaign in 103 days. There were some missteps all around. There were some missteps on her part, and there were some miscues. And basically, what Democrats must learn is we cannot be the party of the elite.
That's a big one.
Buying a house, going to college. Well, hell, excuse my language, but 2/3 of Americans don't go to college. College debt relief doesn't do anything for them. So what's the benefit to Pookie and them? Not said dismissively at all. Just said, what's the benefit to a working class brother or sister who gets up in the morning every day and goes to work and has to wait on public transportation, has higher taxes, who does not feel heard? And I think that's what Democrats did not hear.
Well, or to Mr. or Ms. Jones, who are the blue collar workers, who are the union workers, who've taken the vocational track, because there are two different tracks of education. You've got the academic, you've got the vocational, equally important. And because Black people were locked out of the academic, we don't. And I think Americans just generally don't value vocational education as much as we need to, even though HGTV and the like is wildly popular. That's vocational education, as is the Food Network. But I digress. I don't digress. I think, we have got to grow up in our politics too, because there's some pieces that we missed. But stay right there, Dr. Malveaux, because I want to bring on T.O. Hardiman, who's one of the nation's, and of course, Cam Buckner, Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner. T.O. Hardiman, of course, he's on WVON every Sunday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know why I want to make you a volunteer, but the violence interrupters, of course, and he absolutely lobbies against that and lobbies for peace more than that. Were you surprised by the results on Tuesday, T.O. Hardiman?
I wasn't surprised, but I also want to salute State Rep leader Cam Buckner, real solid young man. I want to just give him his props while I can.
Absolutely.
I want to say that, Santita, but I was not surprised by the results of the election. What Trump did, he single-handedly painted a picture, and hear me clearly, he put out a perception and a narrative that the Democrats had failed society at large on a lot of policy issues. That may not be the case, but that's how he put it out there. And he became also, he played on the people. He became a victim with the 2 assassination attempts. Then he was caught up in the criminal justice system. So he's got a chance to really work the people over. In other words, he's like an absolute showman. And now the Democrats have to reinvent themselves right now, because that's the reason why when I ran for governor in 2014, God blessed me to secure 28.1% of the state vote. The polls had me at 5%. I believe we should just do away with polls and let the people just vote. And that's what happened in regards to Donald Trump. The polls had the race neck to neck tied up, and look what happened. I mean, he slaughtered Mrs. Harris in an electoral vote. So no, I wasn't surprised, because Trump is a once in a lifetime occurrence. It's like he's a phenomenon. It's hard to explain, because with all the issues he had, he still became victorious and became the 47th president elect here in the United States. So I was definitely not, and I've been on your show several times. I always spoke like this because I saw the writing on the wall to a degree. Policies on illegal immigration, policies on the conflict in the Middle East, for sure, and some other policies with the economy. But that doesn't mean that Democrats failed entirely. But what happened, the narrative got put out there so strong that working class people began to believe it. Hispanic people began to believe it, and everybody, Trump just said, look, he had a way to just do some things that I've never seen done before, Santita.
Well, to your point, T.O., and let me pivot back to you, Rania. I heard Donna Brazile on a Sunday talk show some time ago, and I know you followed this. She said, "Look, you all are not grasping this. Trump is a movement. It's not even about him. I mean, it's a movement. You can't punch a movement. You can't. It's called something the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, Dr. Malvo. I mean, people are hurting. People are angry. People feel betrayed. People feel left behind. State Representative Buckner, it's all of that. And when you have that toxic brew, these things happen. I mean, people toggled between Bernie and Trump in 2016 because they wanted someone to go to Washington and make things right. I mean, just that's it. So I mean, hey, Rania, just when you go back in the room and talk to people, what is the conversation like now?
I think there's a lot of fear, obviously, right now. And then there's a lot of, frankly, there's a bit of delusion happening right now, too. There's people saying things like, we survived Trump for 4 years already, we'll survive him again. And I'm not saying, obviously, we're all here to fight the fight and resist and push back against what's coming. The thing that I can constantly reminding people in these rooms is when we survived, quote, survived, and we can't downplay the Supreme Court or those lower court makeup either. But when he was in office previously, there were a few people that had a line they wouldn't cross. All of those people are gone. All those people are gone. So the thing, if anybody out there is listening, I don't have all the answers yet, but we will not, I don't think we're going to be organizing the same way we previously were. I do think that Donald Trump and the people around him intend to criminalize us and put us in jail, for speaking out. I mean, it's one of the cornerstones of fascism. So I do just hope and beg and implore people to start understanding the realities that we're walking into. And that is the conversation I'm having with a lot of people in these rooms right now. Is I'm not saying we quit. I'm not saying we give up. I'm saying we have got to adjust our tactics to what is coming and not what we wish was going to come. Because it's just not, unfortunately, the world we live in right now. And I think I feel it too. I feel gutted and disappointed and sad and angry, frankly, and let down. And like I said before, and you and I have talked about at length, there were so many of us every day talking to the campaign, begging them to pay attention to what was going on, begging them to stop this pack to the right, begging them to use real life language of humanity, not language of elites. And we were in large part ignored. And I do have to say, there are a lot of members of the vice president's team that were just incredible, really deeply feeling, wonderful human people who were pushing like hell. And it was ignored by them as well. So I do want to just name that, because my God, I tell you, some of us were standing shoulder to shoulder, fighting these fights together, and they went ignored, by us and by her, as her staff was putting it out there too. So, yeah.
She had less than 110 years. I reject your pessimism intensely. I agree with you about the shout out to the campaign, but I think when you say she didn't listen, when could she listen? She didn't know this was happening. She and Biden were not in a cabal to say, let's do it this way. He was pushed out by the Pelosi's and others in the world, which they may have been correct, but the correct would have been in 2022. For Brother Biden to say, I don't think I will run again. Because anybody who was around him, and I heard it, I'm not in the inner circle, but I'm in the outer circle. But I heard people talk about, was he losing it? So that should have been a 2022 conversation. So I'm not, we said, well, they weren't listening. I just have to reject that. I get really angry at the way that Black women
are forced to take on the weight of the world. And that's what I'm seeing in some levels here.
But
And
but
people
hold
want
on.
to-
But well, no. But I think no. No. It's okay. I'm just trying to give you. I got about 30 seconds before I have to go. You do radio. What are you talking about? Come on. No. I'm trying to get to the break so that we can have closing remarks on the other side. But stay right there. Back with more. We're going to get some closing thoughts. We're going to stay a little bit longer here on Keep Up Alive so you can hear from the panel. But we want you to go to rainbowpush.org. We need your support, and we are continuing to grow the organization. Even as Reverend Jackson has pivoted, he's still with us, and we have a whole lot of folks with us who are coming aboard every day. We need you to join us at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning at 930 50th Street. Please do that and join me on my show, on the Santita Jackson Show on AM 950 Radio in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Well, you can hear it everywhere. And you can go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and see the shows. So going to a couple other cities real soon. Very happy about that. So stay right there. Going to get some closing thoughts from this wonderful panel. Back in just a minute on Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Up.
Okay, Dr. Malvo, would you like to continue?
No, it's your show, girlie. Tell me what you want me to do.
No. All I was trying to do was get out to my break. We're on a lot of cities, and if I don't hit this mark, it becomes a problem. So that's when you hear me interrupt you. I've never cut you. I got bills to pay.
Well, first of all, I thought it was the other lady. And
No, but yeah. Ronnie and Patrice. But Ronnie she's an active consultant right now. And so I think we can't. She's having the fight, and she's not on the outer ring. She's in there, and some people were not listened to the way they needed to be listened to. And the question.
And I just want to be clear too. I am very angry at President Biden, and many of us were asking before 2022 that he should not be running again.
Mm-hmm.
But also the idea, yes, Vice President Harris only had 107 days, and we talked about this earlier. She was handed something broken that she didn't break. But to say that she had no room to listen or no time, it's just not true. She was asked point blank what she would do differently from the president. And I do understand, and I heard this 101 times from her senior most staff, from people in the White House as well, that there's only one president at a time.
Wait a minute, can you hear, because you all can't talk over each other, but hold on, let her finish, Dr. Melville. No, you can, but Julianne, no, you can disagree, but you all can't talk over each other. You got to hear her so she can, and she got to hear you.
Well, can she end a sentence or she go just bullshit?
No, wait, don't do that, Dr. Melville. No, let's keep, because everybody doesn't speak. No, everybody doesn't speak in double time. Let her finish in her rhythm, and you will go on in yours. It's okay. No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's not the spirit in which we're here. And she is working in the inner circle. And she's had an experience that a lot of people had. A lot of people who you like and trust. Yeah.
Whatever. I'll listen.
It's not a whatever. I mean, I've got. No. Let her finish. That's all I was saying to you. I would not let someone roll over you.
Whatever.
And no, it's not a whatever. I'm the moderator here. That is my job. It's my job, and I am going to preserve the standards that Reverend Jackson has set on his show, because it's still his show. And we don't disrespect people here. I'm not going to let anyone roll over you and maybe offend you, and I'm not going to let you do it to anyone. I'm not going to let anybody do that here. I wanted her to finish so that you can be heard and you can respond to her.
We got a minute left.
Now I've got about a minute, but we're going to continue when we get back. How much time we're going to have when we get back?
Probably like a little over a minute.
A little over a minute. If you all would stay, because I certainly want you all to engage. I'm going to have to close out. But Dr. Malveaux, why don't you make your point before we go back up on the air?
It's okay, Santita. I'm through. I'm so tired of this. I'm through.
But
And
what
I
do you?
really do. And I really feel disrespect by that woman. I don't know who the hell she is, but I feel very disrespected.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I don't know why you feel disrespected. But it's not even who the hell she is. Why don't you ask who she is? Because I met her with our dear friend Dr. James Ogby. She is someone who is very respected in Democratic circles.
And so am I.
And I'm saying both of
tell her to Google me.
no. But she wasn't disrespecting you, Julianne. She wasn't. Julianne, stop it. Stop.
One.
Silence.
You're live.
Hey, everybody. Rainbowpush.org. I hope that you all will join the movement. And please continue to support Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Very lively discussion. Stay right here on Keep Hope Alive. We're going to be talking more on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and on the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior Facebook page, the Santita Jackson and Friends page. As you can hear, there's a lot of emotion that was and is invested in this candidacy. But as we are working through all of that, we still have a lot of work to do. We have migrant crises in our cities and in our country, and in the countryside. We have got wars, multiple wars, where trillions of our dollars, your dollars, are going. We have got a school system, a public school system that needs to be revived. We've got a public health system that is in crisis. We got a lot going on. So even as we are looking at this election, and we need to look at it, we still need to find out what's going to happen in the House of Representatives. There's a lot that we've got to work through, a lot that we've got to talk through. But everybody's got to be loving and respectful, because we can't talk at each other. We've got to talk with each other, because it is only together that we're going to work all of this out. So on behalf of my wingman, my technical producer, Mr. Jeremy Geiger, and Reverend Jesse Jackson, I'm Santita Jackson. Everybody remember, keep hope alive.
liveradio.com.
Okay, Dr. Malveaux, would you like to continue?
No, not really.
Okay, all righty. Rania, I want to see who's still there. No, if you don't want to continue, that's okay.
No, I don't. Not right now.
Okay, not a problem. Do we have state representative? Who do we have?
Rania is still on TO.
Rania?
Dr. Amar.
Okay, Rania.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Okay, Rania, I wanted you to complete your thought.
Yeah, I think if we can't have these conversations,
Okay, hold on one second.
Flowers and
Okay, now you can go. We're getting a lot of static. So I'm stopping people because when we get this static, no one can be heard. It's sounding like we're getting interference. I've never had this experience before. Which we're trying to all the years we've been together, we're trying to figure out what's going on here. We have a lot of disruption, like every 5 minutes or so in the show, and so that's when you're hearing me stop you. That's what's happening here. But you were saying, Rania?
Just to put a finer point on what we've been talking about the last 2 hours and for even longer, for months now, is having that introspection, being able to have these conversations is important for us to be able to build and grow and move forward and build our party. And I do just have to say, I'm not guessing about these things. And I know you named that too, Santita. Thank you. These are efforts that myself and many people were fighting on the inside and being ignored. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that casually. I say that as, how do we learn from this? And how do we bring all of us together and put our party back together? And frankly, stop using our tax dollars to commit genocide at home and abroad.
Well, I mean, there was, and they're saying that there's, there are a lot of debates going on inside of the party right now, lots and lots and lots of them. And State Representative Buckner, are you still there?
No, he's gone.
Okay.
T.O.
And T.O.
and Dr. Amar.
Yeah, I'm here.
T.O., what's up? What do you? I mean, where do we go from here?
Well, right now, Trump, like I say, he's the president-elect, and we have to find a way to work with his administration for the next 4 years and make sure that the United States is on the right track for everybody. That's where we go from here, as far as my point of view. There's no sense in now. Everything is done now. It's over with. So the complaints and all that kind of stuff there. Let's just hope and pray that Trump leads the proper way for all people here. Now, see, a lot of times I heard Trump make a comment, right? I don't know how people feel about this. He said he has no problem with people coming to the United States, but they should come illegally. He said that himself, right? So, I mean, I agree with that personally, right? I'm not here to stand in nobody's way to come here, but I just think we need to abide by the law. He should abide by the law as well. I don't even want to use the word he got lucky with all the issues he's had in his background to become the president-elect. But I wouldn't say luck. I just think that the people spoke because they're getting tired of these perfect candidates running for office. And I believe the Democratic Party has, like I say, they need a makeover. Like they never done anything under the sun that was kind of like wrong or something like that. Because people, one thing that helped Trump out a lot, he spoke, whatever came to his mind, it seemed like he had no filters. That doesn't make it right. Because I wouldn't want to listen to somebody that doesn't have any filters, but this guy didn't have none, and he was just straightforward. So obviously a lot of people like that in him. And once again, he played the victim role in a very strong way. And then he also, like I said, when he got caught up in the criminal justice system, that kind of crossed over with a lot of working class people. You have about 80 million people in America that are ex-offenders. They've either been locked up, they're out of prison, and they're voters now. So I mean, I think he appealed to a lot of populations that a lot of people missed out on. And then I get tired of every time there's a presidential election, African American people appear to be a second thought. Even though we're a strong voter base, we become like we think about African Americans later in the process. All right, there are lessons learned here, Santita, for the Democrats and everybody else out here. Trump captured more votes in Illinois. I think I don't have an exact number in front of me right now, but I think he captured close to 500,000 votes or 600,000 votes here in Illinois for the first time, and I'm talking about in a long, long time. All right.
Why do you think that was?
Well, he hit home, but he was able to. His message resonated with the working class people here. His message resonated with the not so perfect people. People are getting tired of him. Some people say they're mad at Joe Biden. Joe Biden has some issues. I mean, he has medical issues, right? So there's no sense in being angry with Joe Biden. The man is sick, all right? That's the bottom line. He's a good politician for all those years. He made some mistakes like everybody else, but in Illinois, Trump's message resonated especially amongst some of the African American people. We had a lot of people talking about turning Chicago red, turning the state of Illinois red. When Quinn ran against Rauner, basically the Democrats in Illinois knew that Quinn would not win, but they supported him anyway, and that's how That's how he became the governor, and he went down in history as one of the worst governors ever in the state of Illinois. But the Democrats backed Pat Quinn, knowing that he had some issues that he couldn't win, in other words. And that's what happened here. And this, I'm not saying Kamala couldn't win. She had everything going for her, but some kind of way Trump was able to.
My brother is Kamala. People need to learn how to pronounce her name properly. That's disrespectful.
Well, look here, it's no disrespect when I say that. Just the way I talk to her. That's why we say.
Okay,
I got it.
Kamala. She got it. He got it.
I got it. No disrespect. Kamala, no disrespect. That's why we say Miss Harris. I don't want to mess up Mrs. Harris. That's why I want to mess her name up. But hear me clearly on this here. We got to work with Trump right now and do the best we can to make sure that we get resources in all communities, and definitely in the African American community, and that needs to take place right now. He's what you call the Teflon Don for real, because there's no way you can explain what happened. The polls had it, like say, a dead heat. There's no way in the world this should have happened, but it did. So what we're going to do now? Just everybody's going to just go and hide? You cannot run and hide.
But I think that there are explanations.
No, we are going to resist. You know, we are, you know, I would venture to say, and I may be wrong, that I'm the elder on this panel, which is why I bristle at disrespect, not only toward me, but also toward Kamala Harris, whose name has been well known. So when people choose to call her out of her name, like you
I
just
didn't
did,
choose
my
to
brother.
call out a name.
It was a
I talk a certain way.
Okay, let me make my point. But
I just want to be clear. I would never disrespect her. I want to make that clear. I didn't never chose to do that. Yeah.
But
you did. It came out of your mouth.
no, but wait, stop, because I'm moderating this. Okay, stop. Now, I hear you. I'm senior because I've known her more than 40 years. When she got to Howard, people mistakenly called her Kamala because most Black folks know Kamala. Kamala is the Indian interpretation of that name, something with which most Black people, Black Americans, are not familiar. Okay? When people continue, because people trip over my name. My name is Santita. People continue to call me Santina or some iteration of it. I have to correct them. And then some people, I just let it go because I don't want to have the fight, and I get it. Okay? So let's stop. And with people with accents, it depends upon how you hear, how you learn. You're an educator, you get it. He didn't mean any harm. Let's go. Don't attack it. Let's not attack each other here. Let's not do that. He was not trying.
My name is Julianne.
Yeah.
My name is Julianne, and people call me everything.
I got you. And you know what? Yeah.
Juliet, and I just ignore him because I love him so much.
Yeah, and because you also know he doesn't mean any harm. He teases.
But what I do know is that part of this campaign on the part of the Trumpies has been to mispronounce her name. It's been
but that's not where he's coming from.
No, not where I'm coming from.
I don't know where he's coming from.
No, I'm letting you know this is. I would not bring someone on to Reverend Joe who would disrespect her. And I'm not going to bring someone on. I'm not going to bring someone on because I have known her. I have liked her. I've known her a long time. I'm not going to do that. I don't traffic in disrespect. We don't do that here. Now I want you to make your point, but you got to do it respectfully. Period.
I have been respectful.
No, you've not. You've been rolling all over. Let's not do that here.
I have not been respected.
No, that is not true. That is not true because he has not been disrespected. He's not been disrespectful. And I've had disrespectful people on my show before, and they've not been back because I don't do that.
Well,
I'm not gonna let anyone be disrespected. I'm not gonna disrespect, and I don't let people roll over each other. So let's stop. Everybody's in their feelings about this, and I get it. We all do. But if you got to give what you want to get, or should I say you do get what you give. So
but
let's
you know
get.
Whatever I get, I can handle.
Look, I'm not. Wait, honey. It is too early in the morning. I've been up since 3. I am not trying to do this. Now, I love you, and I love each of you here. We're going to deal with each other respectfully. I'm not going to have a fight about it. That's it. I want you to make your point. I would not have any of you here if I felt you were disrespectful. And that is it. I'm not having a discussion about this anymore. Let us move forward in respect, or someone's going to be absent from this conversation. Continue, Dr. Melvo.
Well, my bottom line point is this. I wrote a piece called "The Vice President Lost, What's Next?" The issue is what is next. So the brother who made the point about working with Trump, there's some things we are going to be able to do. As an example, there are Republicans who care about conservation. Well, they go along with eviscerating the EPA. There are Republican labor activists who care about the National Labor Relations Board. As he tries to cut that down, will they go along with that? We're going to find out. We're going to find out in the next few months what they're willing to go along with. And I don't think they're going to be willing to go along with everything. So we have to figure it out. But the other thing we have to do is create a legal structure. They cannot do mass deportations without due process. They cannot have concentration camps or what they call them, dormitories, without due process. So all of the civil rights organizations and others, and of course, Rainbow has a major role to play in that, even as we deal with our own transition. We will have to have cadres of people together to resist. It's not working key. I mean, I think the mayor of, I forget who it was, but one of the Democratic politicians said they're prepared to work with the new president,
Yeah.
but they're also prepared to resist his injustices. And I think that's where we have to be.
Yeah. And I think we have to, and in fact, the Progressive Democrats of America took that same posture as they endorsed Vice President Harris, because politics, given the nature of it, you sometimes have to fight your friends. One of the things that I appreciated about the Clintons was that even as you fought them and you could have some fierce fights with them, they never disengaged you. And that's what we have to understand how to do. You could walk away from the fight. You might be a little burnt and in your feelings about it, but then you kept on moving forward, because every goodbye ain't gone. And, and we have to live to fight another day. And the person I love today, I might loathe tomorrow. The person I loathe tomorrow might be my best friend later on this evening. You just never know. So, Dr. Amar, we have not called on you.
I'm so glad that you are, because I've been thinking on what the other panelists are saying and trying to identify some points that maybe need amplification. One of the things that got briefly touched on with 2025 is important and needs to come back into focus. And I think a number of the panelists discussed not only international issues, but domestic issues. And the public needs to understand those issues in depth. Steve Bannon stepped out of jail and immediately amplified the fact that the administration would be trying to implement Project 2025 fully. And Project 2025 kind of makes people think that it's something new and different that we absolutely have never seen. Project 2025 is a continuation of the mandate from leadership that has been floating around since '81. And we've seen the loose track, I think, particularly on the Democratic Party, to how long and dedicated people on the other side can be to dismantling the gains that we've acquired through civil rights, social justice, Supreme Court victory. But they don't lose sight of it. So a few that I think are really important to focus on: abolishing the Department of Education. Abolishing the Department of Education is a threat to our children, to those of us who want to continue our educations in various ways. That is an existential threat to the ability to achieve the American dream for those of us that don't always have access to it. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to go to college, but it does mean that for the population to have a baseline of education, and to have that education allow the development of critical thought and exposure to ideas that may be different from one's own, is something that is under threat under Project 2025. Also connected to that is straddling students with debt. The threat to repeal the student loan relief for the 4 million people, and even though they haven't quite articulated how that would be done, but to repeal the relief that's already been given and then block the relief that has been in play and been getting blocked throughout the year. This, again, is something that I think impacts our community very acutely. I didn't go to school because I had a mountain of money for my family and they just kind of doled it out to me. I went to school because I worked 3 jobs and in my senior year got some grant money finally, got some Pell Grant money at the end. Cutting Medicare and Medicaid is a central part of this. People cannot survive on the benefits that they have sometimes. To begin cutting those, talking about cutting Social Security, impact our community. Your father fought so hard, and Dr. King fought so hard, and many people have fought to relieve poverty and uplift people in our community so that they aren't struggling And this agenda says, you know, every dog for himself, everybody out there. Another one that's of interest to me is promoting capital punishment. You're hearing it correctly. Promoting capital punishment and fast tracking it. We know that there are a number of incarcerated people, particularly and disproportionately among Black men, who are incarcerated for crimes that they did not commit. I spent some time recently with New York politician and former Central Park 5, exonerated 5 brother Yusuf Salaam, Representative Yusuf Salaam, and to hear that even as information came out supporting their innocence, supporting another role, that they were directly targeted and that calls for their death, calls for their execution were being put out there, makes something like promoting capital punishment very worrisome. And the last one is that all of this is contingent on strengthening the executive branch and bypassing constitutional checks and balances. So I just want to put all of that out there because I think those are important messages for people to then realize and for us to organize around.
Well, you know, and I think it's important for us, I can continue to underscore, that organizing is something you do no matter who is in office at any level. And Congressman Jackson has been emphasizing that Project 2025 has already been rolled out. Many of us don't realize that. We don't recognize it. And, you know, and people don't recognize things until they're hit by them personally.
They put that stuff out there in 2022.
Yeah. And they've been enacting it. They have been enacting it.
We didn't start paying attention until last year.
Yeah, but I'm saying
2022, and they got a resume bank.
That's right.
They in 2022 they started soliciting young conservatives to join a resume bank so that they could be part of this dismantling of what they call the dark state. But what they really want to dismantle is the administrative state, because obviously no president can do labor relations, all the things that need to be done. If they eliminate these administrative agencies, what they're doing is turning us into basically back to cowboys and Indians, or who, as the sister said, every person for themselves. That's what they're trying to do. And they've been doing it for a very long time. And essentially, we've not drilled down on it as progressives in terms of how it hurts. I appreciate her lifting up the Department of Education, because that is one of the most important things they want to eliminate. But let's be clear, they've been trying to eliminate the Department of Education since it was created. And let me get a lift out, shout out for Push and Push Excel, which I am the president of, where we assiduously work for our young people. But they basically want to close doors and to basically open doors to things like Trump University. Remember that under first President Obama, President Biden, certainly we cracked down on these so-called colleges where people are paying thousands of dollars and never getting a degree. And this is what they would lift back up. Because remember how much money that Donald Trump made off Trump University, pretending to provide people with real estate education. So, you know, it's really clear. I would encourage people, it's a lot to read. It really is a lot to read. But it's 920 some pages. Go for the part that affects you the most. The labor part chagrins me extremely. When they say, we're a Christian nation, and so we believe in the values of hard work. And then they go on to talk about all the social network programs they would get rid of. And some of these things have been ensconced in our work since the 1940s with the National Labor Relations Board. But they would eliminate those things. And, you know, my challenge with the Biden-Harris team is that they never really talked about what was at stake in those terms. And I love little Karine Jean-Pierre. She's a friend of a friend. I like her very much, but she was not effective in promoting message. And so a lot of union workers really didn't get it, but they will get it when the NLRB shifts.
But
and
you know,
he can fire the woman who leads it now, or not. She has, I think, a 3-year term. If he doesn't fire her, he's going to have 2 replacements.
but that's part of the problem. You know, I mean, they did not message on the things that we absolutely needed them to message on. I mean, and these progressive policies, they were horrible messengers, horrible. And did not. Hey, I mean, it's indisputable. And the fact that while we're talking about Project 2025, we're not, the fact that we don't talk about the fact that it is being rolled, it has already been rolled out. We're watching it. And I'm trying to underscore that people need to understand the president is really almost they have a lot of power and then they don't. The oligarchs run this place. Dick Durbin, when the banks collapsed in 2008, he said, let's be frank. The bankers run this place. The oligarchs run this place. If you don't believe the oligarchs run America, you need to go back to June and July when Biden was kicked off of the ticket after 14 million people voted for him. The oligarch said, I don't care what you want. He's out. There's that. Even though progressives and others who understood that the president was struggling in terms of his health for several years, Norman Solomon and Jeff Cohen were calling for it, and people were calling them blasphemous, and they needed to shut up and sit down with their progressive selves. They're getting put in Facebook jail, getting put off Facebook for 2 weeks, all of that. That was terrible. Because you talk about censorship, Democrats do that too. And we need to stop. See, I don't like censorship. I don't care where it comes from. I don't like unfairness I don't care where it comes from. I'm sick of it. And so the thing is, either you're against Project 2025, no matter who enacts it, and you need to be mad about people who don't fight it, including your friends, because it's going to jam everybody. Look, I'm still burnt about the fact that President Carter asked Dr. Mary Frances Berry to create the Department of Education, but would not ask her to be the first secretary. How about that part?
Yes. And she will be with us at the Save the Black World Conference on Thursday. She'll be at 5 p.m. Well, 5 p.m. is the VIP reception. She's going to hang with us for a little while. So you have the opportunity to give this to her flowers while she needs and deserves them, because I remember when she was head of a EEOC and Clarence Pendleton, Richard Reagan, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm slow. I don't remember everything.
It was Reagan.
Replaced her with Clarence Pendleton, and she used to call him Penny. And I would say, why do you call him Penny? She said, because he ain't worth a quarter.
That's right.
And he basically went through and tried to eliminate aspects of affirmative action. And the only thing that slowed him down was indeed the administrative state. So we need to lift up that administrative state and what it has provided for us, at the same time being critical about what has not been provided.
Well, we have to understand what the game is, and understand that sometimes you have to fight your friends, and you have to help them help you. And sometimes you're going to have honest disagreements with people, and that's just the way that it works. But you got to keep the door open. I have learned from Reverend Jackson, you know what? You'd be surprised at the people he gets along with. He's disarming, because he always said to me, baby, relationships matter. He emphasized good manners with my brothers, my sister, and I. Why? He said, because you've inherited my friends and my enemies, neither of whom you deserve, but my enemies in particular. I never, ever, 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 ever want them to attack you on being unkind and being out of order. If our parents were ever called on our behavior, they would always first ask us, now, what did you do? They'd ask the administrator, well, what did you do? What did my child do? Well, what had happened was, so my child wasn't at fault. Okay. So because one guy had been calling my brother Jesse the N-word for weeks. He was away in boarding school for weeks. And one day Jesse had it, and he just cold cocked this guy, and they were going to suspend him. My parents drove up to the school because it was about 2 or 3 hours away. And they said, okay, Jesse, what did you do? And Jesse explained. And he said, I'd gone to the headmaster. Every time this boy would call me the N-word. Every time. And he did it not just one-on-one. He did it in front of the coach. He did it in front of students, and no one would do anything. And the headmaster did nothing. And he said, and you are very, very fortunate today that we are not singing hymns over him, because I have had enough.
There we go.
No, but my parents said, well, now that is inappropriate. That having been said, my parents looked at each other and said, now, you know what, Mr. Headmaster, now what do you have to say about this? Because everybody's got a breaking point. But even then, he went and picked the guy up and put him in the arms of and pushed him into the arms of the coach and said, now do something. Call my parents, do whatever you will. But we have to understand the kind of fight that we're in. We've been in it since Bakke and before.
Oh, yeah.
We knew when the Bakke decision happened, my parents said, it's going to be hard for y'all. Now affirmative action is over. Y'all, you should have been suspicious that they won't put a black girl on this task to run for president when they wouldn't let a white woman through. When they have ended affirmative action for higher education, when they have eliminated DEI. Really? What kind of mood do you think America's in, y'all? So now lick your wounds and let's go. Let us go. Because we've got a lot to do. Kamala has made some history. She did a gargantuan job with this campaign. That having been said, I'm anxious for her to have a conversation with black men about incarceration and about her role as a prosecutor, because that was something that wore on her. And as some of her people would call, I would say, I would love for her to have a conversation about that. I'd love for her to explain the system so she can at least open the door. And sadly, you can bring all these recommendations to people. If they got shot down, unless you are a reverend type who created your own campaign, you kind of go with the group. And a lot of that did happen. But let us learn from this campaign so that we can continue to move this ball just a little bit further up the hill. Because that's really what all this is. Okay, you say, tell me, sellouts, how do you find common ground with a pathological racist liar? I'll wait. Well, I don't think we're sellouts. What we engage in realpolitik Facebook user. Bless your heart. The thing is, we got a lot of racists, and many of them smile at us, and they're in the Democratic Party, and we have to make common cause with them and work it out every day. Being a racist is not the biggest crime. It's treating me as if I am the N-word. That's my problem. However you perceive me is your problem. If you think that white people and other people who think that me as a black person, if you think that I care, that you feel that I'm inferior, when I've had to run faster, jump higher, work harder, be smarter, are you kidding me? I've survived slavery. Nobody else did that. And still we rise. And I've had to negotiate with the master after I've had his children to make my man and my children free. Are you for real? Oh, I'm tough. So I'm not making this, I'm not making any of this personal. This is not personal for me. And you all need to stop making this personal. Stop making it personal. It's interesting that the black women said, I'm not tired. I'm not surprised. Because we've been here 400 plus years and we aren't surprised by anything. I didn't say we find common cause, but I tell you what, I'm not looking for common ground, but I am looking to get something from the person who has a hand on the lever of power. What I was able to do under Trump, after we lost 40,000 black college students, under Obama was get some of that money back and move the HBCU office back into the White House, which Obama had moved out. That part. 40,000 HBCU students thrown out into the streets. They were closing dormitories at Dr. King's alma mater. Are you serious? I got to work things out with all kinds of people. That's the only reason Black people have survived in America. You think I think my slave master was in love with me? I can only imagine what Sally Hemings and her mama went through. But she had to go through to get me here. How do I make common cause? How do I make common ground? The way I've been doing it for almost 500 years up in this piece. That's how I do it. I've had to swallow tears and get out on the stage and wave after people have personally disrespected us so we could get Black folks through the Democratic Party and into the Republican Party on the main stage. You didn't ask me about 1984 when my mother refused to go on the stage at the Democratic Convention because we have been so disrespected. My mother refused to go out there with us, Julian and Dr. Amar and T.O. She said, my father, but she looked at my father and said, I refuse. And she said it in very, very, very sharp language. And my father looked at my brother, Jonathan, and my brother, Jesse, and I, and with tears in his eyes, he said, please don't make Daddy go up there by himself. Please. My parents never contradicted each other. And we walked up on that stage. You want to know why? Because I knew that they were not going to take him. They didn't want him. They didn't want him in 88, even though he was the most brilliant thing they'd ever seen. But you know what? He knew. He said, they won't give it to me, but maybe they'll give it to you all. And that's what happened. And we kept on pushing. All the disrespect. No, I haven't even written about it. Haven't talked about it. I've had to swallow it and keep on going. We've had to swallow it and keep on going. And now Reverend's in a wheelchair with Parkinson's, just like Muhammad Ali with the boxer's disease, because he had to stay in the ring just a little bit longer because too many people didn't want to get in the ring. Too many people got in the ring, sold us out. So then you talk to me then, after we paid this price. And it's been a tough one. So I'm going to work with whomever I need to work with to get you a break and to get your child a break. That's what I'm going to do. What I've been doing. What I've been doing. Harriet Tubman almost died in poverty. Ungrateful people. People wouldn't even employ Rosa Parks. Ungrateful. She was chased out of Alabama. People tried to rob her in her house. My father had to buy her a house and get her a car. He and John Conyers got together and did that. Don't you tell me. And still we keep fighting for people who won't say thank you and who are ungrateful. But it's okay. If Jesus could do it, who am I?
There you go.
So don't talk to me about with whom I must negotiate. Who talked about putting their children in a racial jungle? That was Joe Biden. Who fought busing? That was Joe Biden. And yet I worked with him. And worked with him enough that, you know what? Pushed a Black woman onto the ticket and pushed a Black woman onto the Supreme Court. That was not a gift. It was something he owed me and owed you. Ain't nobody giving us gifts. We're owed. And these people are still in debt. So ask me that again. How about that? Yeah. How about that part? Love you. See you all this afternoon. And we'll talk some more. Dr. Malveaux, Dr. Amar, T.O., would you like to say anything else?
Not at all. I think you nailed it. I think that the rage of Black women is a rage, is a righteous rage that we need to embrace. And negotiate with the devil, which we've been doing the whole time. Ever since we've been here, we've been negotiating. I love that you mentioned Sally Hemings, because I used to talk about her in speeches until someone told me it was indelicate. But what I would say was, people say, well, maybe they were in love. I said, Hell, you can't get up in the morning and say, Master, I got a headache. No, thank you. It was late.
Girl, we did the special tour of Monticello because it's a museum.
Yeah.
And so they opened it around 7 o'clock in the morning before they opened it, and they let us go through there for 2 hours. And I was asking such piercing questions that the curator of the museum asked me, "Are you an historian?" I said, "No." So I just read a lot about this, and I'm just curious because there are rooms behind rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You all forget Sally Hemings was his wife's half sister.
And looked just like her.
Okay, but prettier, according to legend. And she also, they were so deeply involved. You know, his wife died when he was 39. He died at 83. He never remarried, and he was known to be a very handsome guy. He was about 6'4", good-looking guy, brilliant, wealthy.
I never seen a handsome white man.
Huh? No. I mean, look, look, I ain't gonna hate.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying it is what it is. I'm saying that I'm looking at the documents of the time said that. That having been said, she was a child when she fell pregnant with his child while she's taking care of her nieces. Look, and she had to do all kinds of negotiating to keep Monticello not just open, but to keep those folks to keep him from beating his slaves and all of that. There's just a lot. We're always having to negotiate. So that's all I'm saying. So with Trump, I'm gonna make it with him, and you all stop making this personal with him. Stop it. He's not the first person who has lied to you in office. He's not. And he's not the first person who should be in jail.
Well, that's
almost every president, is an unindicted felon. That is why Jimmy Carter is walking around, was teaching Sunday school, holding a Bible, because of things he had to do as president. Are you for real? Come on. Stop it. Stop falling for what the corporate media are doing for you. Because I saw how the corporate media made people hate Dr. King. They did that. They shaped the atmosphere so that he was killable. Then black people fell for it, and then he was killed. That's what happened. As soon as he crossed the threshold of 50% unpopularity with black people, he was killable, and they killed him. That's how this works. He's not the worst liar in history, honey. And he's not. Trust and believe he's not. He's not.
But he may be one of the worst.
We don't know what he is, because you know what? If you say you don't trust the corporate media, but you trust him on this, really?
No, I trust.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying people in general.
No, but I'm saying read Project 2025.
Read Project 2025, and you know what? Look at what all these other jokers have pushed through, because NAFTA jammed us. We're still living with the fallout of NAFTA. It's horrible.
I guess is that the boldness of the Trump, kleptocracy, and the genius of that. They wrote it down. It's like, this is what we gonna do, y'all. It's like Dr. Maya said, people tell you who they are, believe them. He said, this is what we gonna do.
And guess what? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly.
And these folks have been planning. They've been working. And you know what? I don't like it, but I appreciate it. What are we going to do? We're going to talk about Trump's personality? Half of them don't get along with each other anyway. I promise you that.
I don't care about his personality. He's obnoxious, rude, disruptive.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm saying even on his team, many of them don't get along. So what? They have a common goal, and they put that aside. They don't fall in love. They what? Fall in line.
They fall in line. They fall in order.
Enough. So I don't want to talk about anyone's personality. I don't.
No, me neither. I'm gonna get to the second half of my church service.
Okay.
Love you much. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, let me know if you can make it at 3 or 4 your time.
Okay, I will.
Okay, hon.
Okay.
T.O.
Listen time for sermon. Okay, bye, y'all.
All right, y'all. I love you, everybody. Yeah, and let's not talk about his personality. And let's not talk about whether he's lying and all that other stuff, because all that doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It doesn't. What you want policy out of someone. Because what I care about that in my personal life with people who are on me. After that, just please, enough. But I love you all. It has been great. I hope you got something good out of the show today. I'm out of here. Ooh. And there's that. Love you. See you this afternoon. I guess at 2 Central Time and 3 Central Time. Love you.